So when you hear the term hunter or fisherman, in your mind, do you picture someone that hurts or protects wildlife? So my whole life, I've always been into hunting and fishing. As soon as I could cast a rod, I was out there trying to catch fish with my dad. And not long after, I was accompanying him while he was going hunting. And I just like being out there. And as an added bonus, I got to get out of school. So pretty sweet deal. I'm also a wildlife biology major, which is another reason I wanted to talk about this. And I'm sure all of you, regardless if you hunt or fish, all love to see our Montana wildlife. And whether you like it or not, our wildlife here in Montana is very intertwined with hunting and fishing. Now, some controversy surrounding this, it's understandable why there is some, because you'll see sportsmen post, pictures where they're grinning ear to ear and they're holding a dead fish or deer. And, understandably that looks kind of barbaric. And I think it's important to realize that hunting and fishing aren't necessarily good or bad. It's very intricate, and it's important to see the whole picture before you make up your mind about it. So I'm going to start talking about what the good things are that come from hunting and fishing. And one of the best things that come from hunting and fishing is it generates lots of money for conservation. And it does this through licenses, permits, and these two things fund state and federal wildlife agencies. Michael Lent of the biology department at the University of North Dakota and his other co-writers in a journal article published in 2025 in the journal Ecology and Society said licenses sales are the primary funding source for many natural conservation agencies that aim to protect, conserve, and enhance fish and wildlife populations. So another way that hunting and fishing works to generate money for conservation is through federal excise taxes. So under the Pittman-Robertson Act and the Dingell-Johnson Act, I probably just butchered those, but these two acts make it so when you go and buy firearms, ammo, tackle, a bunch of other fishing or hunting supplies, some of that ends up going towards water, habitat restoration, population management, or species monitoring, and education, which I think is pretty cool. Another great thing that hunting and fishing does is it helps manage wildlife populations, and it also creates very strong advocates for wildlife and land protection. So with overpopulation, you run into an increased rate of disease, and you also have an increase of vehicle collisions. And especially with big game, you also run into, they can really alter the habitat, which can be detrimental for other species if, their population gets out of control. And then on the advocate side of it, you have, groups like Ducks Unlimited or Trouts Unlimited that are almost completely ran by hunters, and these have helped restore millions of acres of wetlands and waterways in the country. And according to James Heffelfinger, a member of the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and his co-authors, in a journal article published in 2013 in the International Journal of Environmental Studies, many hunters in North America go beyond what is required by law. Historically, hunting has been the greatest passion that's assured wildlife its place on the landscape. So we've talked about what's good about hunting and fishing, but let's talk about what's bad now. So as far as what's bad about it, you have over-harvest, and you also have people that are very wasteful. So on the over-harvest side, if you harvest too many of one species, this can cause ecosystem imbalance, and in severe cases, it can cause endangerment of that species or even extinction. And a very famous case of this, it was the passenger pigeon. At one point, it was the most populated bird in North America with numbers in the billions. And within 1 century, it was completely wiped out by overhunting. Habitat loss also played a little part in that, but it was mainly from overhunting. And I previously talked about how hunting and fishing create some of the best advocates for land protection, but it can also create some pretty bad people and create some pretty bad habits. And what can happen is people get too wrapped up in status. And as suggested by Stephen Elazion, a professor at MSU Billings, in a journal article published in 2008 in the Journal of Human Animal Studies, competition results in a desire to be successful in everything a person does. And in the hunting culture, a large set of antlers is a symbol of success. And with this obsession, it can lead to, people wanting to harvest exotic animals or just being wasteful because all they're worried about is the trophy on the animal, such as the antlers or horns or hide. And this obviously is very disrespectful to not just the animal, but actual ethical hunters. From the good, from population management and strong advocacy, and to the bad of overharvest and poaching and wastefulness, it's a very complex issue with hunting and fishing. And, humans' relationship with animals goes back to the start of our existence as a species. And it's going to continue to be important going forward. And in this ever-changing, fast-paced world, it's still going to be important, and we need to be able to understand the whole picture, to understand what the best path going forward is going to be.